us here in the United States, and we are working to continue to foster a relationship with them, and hopefully that relationship will result in investments coming into the Turks and Caicos Islands. Just a little bit about Invest Turks and Caicos. We attract foreign direct investments. Right now, we primarily deal with tourism, area of tourism, but we are open for other areas. And if you're interested in investing in the Turks and Caicos Islands, please feel free to see me. I'll be here until Saturday, until the whole end of this thing. And it's always a pleasure to be here. This is my first conference, and I'm very impressed. Always happy to support my colleague Andy and NABHOOD. So again, I'm so happy to be here, and welcome to all of you, and enjoy. Thanks.
Thank you, Kino. Next up is Shamari Haynes. Shamari is the Deputy Commissioner of the United States Virgin Islands. So, Shamari, come on up. Another one of our primary sponsors.
Good afternoon. My name is Shamari Haynes, Deputy Commissioner with the U.S. Virgin Islands Department of Tourism. On behalf of Commissioner Joseph Busholti and the entire U.S. Virgin Islands, I'd like to take this time to welcome you to Paradise. If you've never been to the Virgin Islands, please come. Please come experience our rich history, our diversity, and our culture. Learn about our people, and just getting into what we have to offer. Good things are happening in the U.S. Virgin Islands, and we're excited to be here. Congratulations to Andy and the entire NABHOOD team for another successful year, and we look forward to being here. And always thank you so much for extending the invitation for us to be here. Thanks.
Thank you, Shamari. So the U.S. Virgin Islands is St. John, St. Thomas, St. Croix, and it's the only Caribbean country you can visit without an American passport, right, Shamari? Yes, so please visit U.S. Virgin Islands when you get the chance. Next up is from my home country, Kingsley Smith. Kingsley Smith is our newest member of Parliament in the Bahamas, representing the great island of Grand Bahama. And Kingsley, I'm so very, very proud. I saw you on the campaign trail, and now you are a working, paid member of Parliament representing our people. So Kingsley, can you come up and bring some remarks on behalf of the Bahamas? Andy, where's Kingsley? No one at the Bahamas table? Is that Stanley? Stanley for Senate. Stanley Campbell, my buddy. Luther's brother. All right, so that makes it easy. I don't see, well, there are more people coming in. Maybe we'll call Kingsley up a little bit later on. All right, so we're moving along quite quickly, and that's because we started late, so that is good news. So ladies and gentlemen, I know you're ready to eat, but I would like you to pay special attention to the person who sponsored this wonderful meal and is our host for today. Please welcome the Director of Development from Dallas, Texas for Marriott, Mr. Brandon Harris. Brandon?
How's everybody doing today? Let's try it again. I'm from the South, so church, how's everybody doing today? That's what I like to hear. All right. First off, I want to say shout out to Andy Ingraham for always bringing everybody together, having his great personality so all this can come together. Andy, shout out to you. Also want to give a hand to NABHOOD for everything you guys have done to bring us all together today, so hand clap for NABHOOD as well. Also, there's some people walking around here in some of these light baby blue shirts. Everybody, please give them a round of applause. They've worked hard this whole week. Please. They've worked hard to bring us a great event, great drinks, a great time, and a great event. So this wouldn't happen without the great staff here at the hotel. And next up, I want you to give a round of applause to yourself for making the investment to come out here to Miami, to come to this hotel, to travel. We know flights were down because of Friday, but you guys got in here. You made the commitment on yourself and made that investment, so give yourself a round of applause. With that being said, I want to tell you guys a quick story. A couple days ago, I was outside, and I'm not a cigar guy, but it gave me a chance to bond with one of my teammates, Brandon Booker, sitting up here up front. We were having a cigar, and he mentioned that one of the things he likes about working at Marriott is all the talent that we have at our company. And he mentioned how it was kind of like a band, that everybody's playing their own instrument, but when everybody comes together, things get better. And it made me think about a movie called Drumline. I'm not sure if any of you guys have seen that. But it's a great movie if you've seen Drumline. I've always kind of related to Nick Cannon in that movie. I was a great talent from where I'm from, but the more I progressed in life, I found that I could beat my own drum as best I could, but I couldn't do something bigger than myself because it was always about myself. But now I'm part of a bigger team, and I'm trying to do bigger things. And in the hotel industry, I want you guys to recognize we all have a story. Everybody comes from somewhere. We all have parents. They've all taught us something, and that makes us who we are. But if we want to continue to grow, we want to continue to develop, we have to bring other people into our foxhole. And that's what you guys should be here to do today. You've made this commitment. You made this investment. And my hope is that you've connected with the right people this week. I want you to imagine this conference as any type of tool that you can use. A tool in the hands of the right person can do great things. But if the tool's left to waste, it'll do nothing for you. So this conference will always be what you make it. There's hotel consultants here. There's lawyers here that know how to dedicate themselves to hotel and contract law. And I want to say this, if you can't get a deal done here, you don't need to be in this industry because we have all the tools and resources that you need to get it done. And this is your time. This is your opportunity, so take advantage of it. And as my dad used to say, stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And that's it.
Thank you so much, Brandon, and special thanks to Marriott for hosting this. As I told you privately, I'm so very proud to see the next generation of young brothers taking over these big companies and making waves. This brother is under 40 years old. Would you believe that? And he's given us great advice. Very proud of you, and thanks again to Marriott. Let's have a shout out to all our students who Andy brings in so they can become the next generation of hotel owners. And if you are one of our NABHOOD students, please stand so we can see you. Later on, we may get a chance to do something a bit more tangible, as we always do for you. And one of my buddies might decide to come up here and make a cameo appearance to raise some money, but that's not on the agenda right now, okay, guys? So with that being said, listen, we got through all of this. We're in for a treat because later on we're going to have my buddy Evans Charles, who is a pioneer in every way, shape, or form, and Andy back on stage. We're not heathens, so I want to say good food, good meat, good God, let's eat. Amen. All right, you guys eat, enjoy, and we'll get back to you later on. Thank you very much for your kind attention. Enjoy. Bye, guys.
Please welcome to the stage our...
Good afternoon again, everyone. Good afternoon again, everyone. What, you guys want me to say, shh? Wow, that used to work in my grandmother's house. Works there? Okay, cool, all right. So I know you're enjoying your meal, and I know you're enjoying your conversation and the networking, and that's what NABHOOD is all about, a great big network. But we still got to do our housekeeping, right? So earlier, I started to introduce my friend and colleague from the Bahamas, who's going to bring us some greetings. So Kingsley Smith is now here. So welcome the Honorable Kingsley Smith, the newest member of Parliament for Grand Bahama in the Bahamas, and he'll bring some greetings. Kingsley, come on up.
Thank you, Jerry. Good afternoon, all. I would like to bring greetings on behalf of our Prime Minister, the Honorable Philip Brave Davis, and the residents of the Commonwealth of the Bahamas. This is my first time attending this event. And what I've seen so far, it amazes me to see that with Andy brought a minority group of people together in the hotel industry. Through the course of this event, you have heard our Director of Investment talk about the need for hotel rooms in the Bahamas. We have a strong and robust tourist product. We have the people. We need the beds. And so we would like for all of you to partner with us in the Bahamas to see how we could continue to bring beds in the Bahamas. All of our islands are doing exceptionally well. Many of you may have visited the Bahamas. You see the beauty, you see the tourists on an everyday. The cruise ship is we had over 9 million tourists last year in the Bahamas, and it's growing. And it's growing year by year. And so, again, thank all of you. We would like to see you doing business with the Bahamas in the future, making partnerships with our locals, and see how best we could get more of our locals involved in this industry. Thank you very much.
Okay, so now we get to a little treat, hey? It's always a pleasure and an honor during these luncheons to bring up Andy and his guests who will tell you a story about their life journey. And these are real living heroes, guys who have made it, who started off just like you, some of you in this room, particularly you students. I want you to pay attention, okay? So we're going to have two guests. The first one, Craig Livingston. Craig is the Harlem Renaissance Hotel. His group is called Exact Capital Group. And this a young man born and raised in Jamaica. Craig Livingston. Take a seat. And then the next chap, I've seen him grow and grow and grow into a wonderful young, successful hotelier and businessman. I've been to his house, partied with him, and I had serious meetings with him about some of his deals. All I can say to you is I could never keep up with him. And he is of Haitian heritage. Yes, So, ladies, gentlemen, friends, colleagues, please help me welcome my brother, Mr. Evans Charles. And then the guy who made this all happen for the last 28 years, he's been on your case, he's been chasing down the sponsors, he's been making you work. He makes me work and never pays me a salary, but I'm just happy and honored. I know. I need you guys to lobby for me, okay? Yeah. Okay, so, by the way, I was there when he received his doctorate, and I was very proud of him. He got it in Jamaica, Craig? Yes. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give a rousing welcome of applause to Dr. Andrew Arlington Ingram. So you're in for a treat. Pay attention, and thank you very much as you enjoy your food. Bye, guys.
Thank you, Jerry. Good afternoon. When we look at the landscape, and we look at where and what we want to do, it all becomes with a vision. But there's some things that you need to do first. Family, very important. Education, very important. And those two things will shape your vision. And when I turn to two of my colleagues who are also friends, and you think about it, both Craig and I were born outside the Bahamas. He's a first-generation American. To us, this is the epitome of the American dream. I had dinner last night with a bunch of Asian hoteliers and the Greater Miami Convention and Visitors Bureau president, and we were sitting there, and the president made a toast. And he said, before we eat or drink, let's think of the people around the world who never get the opportunity that we have here today. We're awfully lucky to realize those dreams. But how do we take it a bit further? Evans, born in Washington, D.C., had a vision. Craig in Mandeville, Jamaica, where both Craig and I spent our formative years. But if I will start with Evans, Evans, how important is education to where you are today? And that's a question for both you and Craig. How important is education?
Well, education was my saving grace. As you mentioned, my mom was Haitian born, and I was raised by a single mom. She was 18 years old when she had me, and I was raised in an underserved community in DC. And I remember being happy that I was still alive by the age of 21 because of all of the just mass incarceration, drugs, everything. So I ended up walking onto the football team at Temple University and my mom didn't have the money to put me through college. And I had to beat out the starter and force them to give me a scholarship because I became a starting strong safety. And that was my saving grace to take me out of a community that I thought that my chances of just surviving was very slim. And then I took that opportunity to also get my master's degree within that 5-year time frame that I played football. And so that was just my stepping stone to really changing the trajectory of my life, and also being the first one in my family to even have a college education.
So that's a change agent.
Yes.
Craig, you went to Columbia.
I did. Is this on?
Yeah, it's on. It's on.
I did, Andy, later in life, but I was a product of public education until I went to Columbia Business School for my master's degree. And if you're Caribbean, you understand what I'm about to say. Excellence in education was not optional in my household. My father made it abundantly clear very early in my life what would happen to me at his hands if I did not prioritize my education over fun, joking around, et cetera, et cetera. And I had an episode when I was very young where my father was a law enforcement professional. And all my friends were scared of him. All my cousins were scared of him. And he was just, both he and my mother were very strict about education. So it came before sports, which I love. I played football as well. It came before fun. And he did this one important thing when I was about in 6th grade, he actually started to pay me for grades. And when I realized, and we would sign a contract, so for every A I got was 20 bucks, every B was 10 bucks, anything lower than a B, I owed him money. And when I realized I could make money by getting grades, that was it. And so, and keep him off my behind. So it was definitely the avenue that unlocked a tremendous amount of opportunity for me. And it's what has me here today.
So, education. Evans, you got out of school. You had a vision. And how did you begin to earn money to start your dream? And that's again a question for both of you. Out of school, you've got a great education, and you're ready to earn money. What were you doing then?
So I had no vision that I was going to be doing what I was doing today. I just wanted to get out of this community, get an education, and get a job. I was taught to get a job, work there 20, 30 years, retire, collect a pension, live happily ever after. And I came out of grad school at age 23, and a friend of mine was in network marketing. And that's when I first got introduced to entrepreneurship. And he was a superstar with this company, and they started teaching me about residual income, creating wealth, being an employer versus an employee. I had a $35,000 job with a master's degree, and I was happy because I could now get a car, I had an apartment. I was just excited at age 23. So that foundation changed the trajectory of my way of thinking. And then from there, real estate, I just always understood that every successful person has real estate in their portfolio. And it was a pathway historically to creating wealth. And my landlord, also spoke to me about just being a landlord and creating some residual income through renting. So I went out and bought books and educated myself. Everything was all self-educated. I have no formal business education in finance, economics. Everything was just done through Borders Bookstore, Today, listening to podcasts, YouTube, just constantly just educating myself and just doing. So I don't want to take too much time, but yeah.
Yeah, so Craig, same thing with you.
My pathway into financial education was that I can remember as early as primary school when we were being taught about fractions. I had a teacher who chose to utilize the financial pages. Back in the day, we didn't have CNBC, you didn't have the internet, and if you wanted to see what your stocks did, you got the financial pages every day. You opened it up and you saw where every stock on the stock exchange traded. And so there was a lesson in helping students understand stocks. So everyone had to track a stock, and I picked IBM, and one day it was 50 and a quarter, and the next day it was 50 and 7/8. And so the exercise was understand how much did it increase in one day, and understanding that, wow, someone just made a decision to buy a share of equity in a company, and just by making that decision, they actually made money. It really unlocked something in me, and I immediately developed an interest in the stock market. I went on eventually to work in investment banking when I got out of business school, but I had a lot of confirming experiences between primary school and becoming a banker that kept just confirming my aptitude and interest in the financial world, including real estate. I actually worked for a real estate developer as a laborer when I was in high school, and I can remember thinking, how do you go about doing all this? You get the land, and there's money from the bank, you build these houses, and you sell. How does it all work? But I had the interest and the aptitude and just wanted to figure it out, and eventually was able to obtain the financial education and the life experience that put it together for me.
So, want to move a little bit fast forward. Evans decided, I believe it may have been Jerry and I came to DC one time, and Evans had this great-looking sports car, and I said, wow, and he's flipping houses and doing the deal. And then, and it's interesting, and the parallels, when I thought about this. So Evans then went to the barbershop. Heard people talking about a black guy building hotels from DC. He then went to the dentist's office for an appointment, same black guy on the cover. And then he read it, heard about NABHOOD, and came. Parallel to that, on your side, we had a deal in Harlem. Empire State owned the land, right next to the Victoria Theater, right next to the Apollo, right next to the Apollo. And I worked on that deal probably 15 years trying to get it done. We had an African American that had the deal, couldn't pull the trigger. I was almost about to lose the deal. You parachuted in. Evans parachuted to NABHOOD. And when Evans left NABHOOD, he had all his partners, including a Patel. And it doesn't matter if everybody has the same vision, we're going to go in the same direction. Evans, what did you see when you walked in the room that people that looked like you and the folks that didn't look like you wanted to help you, made you decide this was an opportunity? Craig, same question to you. When you ran over to Steve Williams over at in Harlem, and I thought Harlem was a dangerous city. I better be careful because Clarence Woods in the audience, he always cautioned me, don't talk about I can't say that word, but development. What did you guys see that made you change gears?
Well, for me, I always recognized that the best emerging markets in the world are right here at home. And the fact that there was reluctance on behalf of a lot of established institutions to invest in our communities, I just considered it as an opportunity. And when I did my homework, I quickly discovered that Harlem, and 125th Street in particular, is the #2 most visited international tourist destination in New York City, right behind 42nd Street, or Times Square. And there was a point in time when I was on the way into that project, Andy, where I would stand on the corner of Frederick Douglass Boulevard and 125th Street, and I would see a double-decker tour bus come by every 5 minutes full of tourists, Japanese, Australian, European tourists, double-decker buses rolling by, loving it, just pointing at what's going on. Oh, there's Apollo, taking pictures. And there was an opportunity to get people off the bus and to create an economic engine for them to spend money, and that was our project. And this is a story that I think is replicated in many urban environments that have been historically underinvested in.
You want me to chime in?
Yep.
Okay. So, growing up, there were no real estate developers in my community. There were no businessmen. There were, blue-collar workers and people who were doing things that probably weren't legal. That's what I saw growing up. Right. And one of the reasons why I feel so obligated to go back into underserved communities and give my time and speak, because I understand what difference just seeing an example did for me. And I've never seen an example of any African American owning hotels or doing anything major. So here I am, like Andy said, the way I heard about Don Peebles and I read his book, and he was the chairman of NABHOOD, and there was a NABHOOD event in 2 weeks. I just jumped on a plane, didn't know anybody. I just came into this room, never did a hotel, and I was hungry. And there were guys on the stage that I'm probably one of those guys now that were talking about big deals that were just above my head, 30 million, 40 million. I'm just like, I'm flipping houses over here. Like, I can't imagine doing a 40, $50 million deal. But there was a guy named James Guillory who was about 36, 37. I'm in my 30s, and this guy built the Hampton Inn. And I said, that's who I want to talk to. He gave me so much inspiration, because I'm like, he's around my age, and this guy built the hotel from the ground up. And he gave me his number. He spoke to me, but outside of that, I was in here networking like crazy. Like I put together, like he said, my entire team. I was just so hungry. I'm like, I'm not coming back to a NABHOOD without owning a hotel. And I literally, Monopoly was my favorite game all my life. And I played it in real life. Like when you say you trade in your 4 houses for a hotel, I took lines of credits that I had on all my equity, equity on many different properties, and that was the equity that I utilized to do my first hotel deal.
And you changed.
Thank you.
And you changed your car too, remember that. So you got some money from changing his car.
Yes.
But Evans was not only hungry, but he had a vision. And so he decided that he'll get into the business. He bought a 62-room hotel, 62?
70-room hotel.
70-room hotel in Martinsville, Virginia, a Holiday Inn Express, soon to be converted to a Comfort.
That's right.
And so let me tell you why partners is so important. From the conversion time to the of one brand to the other, there was a break. If any of you that in the hotel business know, you don't want to go with a national reservation system. He called me about it. I had a buddy, the network of NABHOOD that worked at Holiday Inn, Brown, and I said, hey guys, I know you're 7-year relationship, but can you leave the faucet open? And he did, for the conversion, which made sure he didn't lose any money. But let me tell you what hard work is. We're at a Hunter conference. We had a reception in a suite and a bedroom attached to it. Evans was trying to raise money. And he sat there in the part of that bedroom while the meeting going on, and he was just calling people. And some people have made commitments. And he walked out one day, let me talk to you, and he said, I just lost this. And even though he may have lost that, he still called people. And that was a tough financing time, I remember correctly. And I can't say this, but we got it financed. It was an interesting one. And it became one of your most successful projects in Atlanta. Tell us a little bit why you kept doing that and didn't just quit.
He's not gonna like this. He told me not to do that deal. And it was the best deal I ever did. But no, I'm just kidding. You did say not to do it. But I don't want to throw you out there. No, it was a tough deal. It was in a bad part of Atlanta. It was at the underground. A lot of people said, that people lived in Atlanta.
Gentrification area.
Right. They said, don't go down there. It's just a bunch of folks, homeless people loitering. You just don't want to be down there. And then I guess in my mind, it was right after the great financial crisis, and I don't need to understand hotels. I understood real estate, and I know the last person paid like $25 million for it, and I can get it for $5 million. So that math just made a lot of sense to me, and I appreciated the fact that it was where it was. One of the things as you talk about that day when I was making all those phone calls, the deal that was recognized yesterday, and I didn't get a chance to say anything about it, was
We're going to talk about that later on in this discussion.
Okay, but this is a point I want to make real fast.
Okay.
I was able to get that deal because I instilled confidence in a broker that literally vouched for me to recommend that the seller sell the hotel to us. And reputation is so important to me. So whenever there's an opportunity to execute like you were witnessing that day, I give it everything, because if I don't execute and my reputation is just, is negative, I won't have that opportunity in the future. So I just thought that was a deal of a lifetime for me. And
it was.
And I just, if I had to go through 50 no's, 100 no's, I wasn't going to stop until I got those yeses to get that deal going. So.
Same thing, Craig. You go to Harlem. You saw the upper deck, double-decker buses, piece of property next to the Apollo Theater. Couldn't get it financed, couldn't do it, but you did. How?
Andy, with that deal in particular, I remember when it was awarded originally to Danforth, Steve Williams. And it was earlier in my development career, we were developing multifamily assets, we were developing luxury condos, but we had some success, and my background as an investment banker, and really having strong financial acumen. When I read about that deal 4 years earlier being awarded, I was like, why not? I wish I had that deal, right? And I watched it, and it didn't go anywhere because the financial collapse happened. And the other interesting thing about this deal is when you say you'd worked on it for 15 years, well, remember that deal came about 40 years ago when Percy Sutton, Carl McCall, Charlie Rangel, Basil Patterson, these Harlem luminaries wanted to have this international tourist destination. So it was a long-standing aspiration of the community. And I just felt like, we know how to get this done. And one of the things that we knew was before folks started talking about public-private partnerships and they were super popular, this was a public-private partnership. And from the work that we did in other areas of our business with other asset classes, we knew that there could be a tremendous amount of governmental support for this project. So we went to work thinking about the capital stack that would be required to make that deal happen. And we changed it considerably. So one of the things we did was we realized, when we looked at it, we realized it was too small to make the numbers work, because on our way in, we would have to buy the deal, pay off a lot of the old expenses that the previous developer had incurred, restructure the entire thing. So one of the things we did, we said, okay, the building height on 125th Street had just been rezoned, and the height limit was 19 stories. We said we need 29 stories to make it work. And we were able to convince the government to do what's called a zoning override. And this is not a public process with ULURP and 24 months of land use work. A zoning override happens with a signature in a general project plan, like with a vote like that. And we were able to get a zoning override, and then we were able to create all these different tranches of capital to come into the deal to support it. And we combined it with a residential building. So there's actually two towers here. We have our 27-story hotel, but we have a 27-story residential building that has mixed income residential, where 50% of it is market, 30% of it is low income, and 20% of it is middle income. And so we also utilize a tax abatement. We utilized a 9% tax credit, some subsidy, some other grants, and just a very creative capital stack. And what we did was we deviated from any program that any house agencies, that any governmental agencies had, and we said we're not going to be constrained by the term sheets or the program as it sits. We need to do something bespoke for this asset. So we put together that capital stack, and we were able to get very strong political support because we had, I think, a clear path on getting it done. So once we were able to do that, and we brought in our own lender, we brought in our own investor, which was Goldman Sachs, my previous employer, who rolled with me on it. And when they saw this brother's got a good idea, he's got the cash, got the support, we were able to get the government to sign off and move forward.
Evans talked about confidence. How important is to have your investor, your lender, your broker have the confidence that you can execute? Is that important?
Yeah, it's everything. Like I was saying earlier, reputation and relationships. Any element of success that I've ever achieved has been because of relationships. It's been because I was able to pick up the phone and call someone to seek some form of assistance in some way, shape, or form. And again, your entire team, it takes time to do a deal. It takes time to do an acquisition. I mean, we could be working on a deal for 6 months. You could be working on a public-private deal for years. That's when all these people who are on your team get paid, is when the deal closes. So they need to have confidence in you, in your team, that you're going to work and deliver, and you're going to operate with integrity, and and you're just going to have a good reputation or so. So I would say it's the most important thing as relates to relationships and just on how you navigate through this business, for sure.
Goldman put money in your first deal, so you thought they had the confidence in you to do that, as well as the project?
100%, and the relationships mattered. So I had relationships there with people who understood that, you know, as a previous financier, really had the financial acumen. We speak the language. We're always able to make a presentation to demonstrate how returns would be generated, how certain risks would be mitigated. And then, like, you know, the deal has to make sense. So, you know, they have their own fiduciary responsibilities. They have to make sure that it pencils and they could see a path to getting repaid. And that's, you know, those relationships come from, you know, decades of being a good businessman, having a good reputation, having a good track record, and engendering the support of folks. And not only were we able to get Goldman to do that deal, but they have followed us to other states, and we're doing other deals with the group.
So once you're successful, that really sets the track record.
That's the word, track record. That track record builds on itself. So, you know, Evans has an exemplary track record. We also have a great track record. And it's important because one of my mentors a long time ago said, they can't argue with the evidence, right? If you walk in the room with the evidence, that track record, that's your hallmark. It quiets a lot of doubts.
Evans bought a hotel a couple of years ago, and I was at the grand opening, and we were sitting there celebrating, and I looked over at Evans' mother, and she was sitting there, and I was so proud for her to see her son at a level that both you and I, growing up in Mandeville, very different than growing up in Washington, where Evans did. But you watched her, and you would think that was enough for him to do. But then, Evans, you had an idea, let's do some other deals. You turned around and built a hotel on the property next door to it. How did it feel to keep encouraged to keep going on and on and on?
Yeah, this is not for the faint of heart. It's extremely challenging, but I'm excited by the process. And the reward is the economic reward, obviously, but I look to just reinvest it and try to just continue to grow. And how can I be impactful? You know, so being impactful, creating opportunities for others, whether it's jobs, because we're in a hotel business, or so giving people opportunities to elevate and get managerial positions in my hotels, giving people opportunities to invest, for them to learn the business, or transforming communities or so. All of those things are fulfilling to me. And people ask me, you know, what's my goal? How many hotels? I just want to keep just doing deals. Like, I'm a deal junkie. I love to just do deals at the end of the day. And they keep, you know, they evolve as to what kind of deals that I want to do. And I'm gonna be honest, like, I've done a $3 million deal, and I've done a $65 million deal, and it's the same headache. So I've learned to go after larger deals now, because the value of time, and as I get older, is just extremely important to me. There was something I heard one time was, if you were 25, would you accept $1 billion to trade places with a 90-year-old? And if the answer is no, then that means that you value your time, right? Because that 90-year-old don't have a lot of time left. So I'm just of the mentality of, what do I do with my 24 hours every single day, and how do I maximize my time?
So, Craig, after Harlem, you kept saying, let's look at some other deals. Connecticut. What keeps driving you? Evans is a deal junkie. He's gonna, if you ever go to his place late at night, he's gonna work on a deal. Anyone's gonna work on a deal. We're probably gonna work on a deal.
Yeah, we have the bug, man. We're deal junkies. It's just, it is like, for me, yeah, I really do enjoy the art of the deal. And like Evans, Monopoly was my favorite game. I used to tell my kids and my family members, I get to play Monopoly for a living. What an incredible experience that is. And after we've spent so much time through, through life, gaining this education, gaining the experience, the track record, the financial acumen, the balance sheet, we're still relatively young men. And the idea of like being on a beach somewhere for more than maybe a week is just not interesting to me.
Same.
I really want to, we didn't do all this to just stop. I really want to continue to drive impact, to inspire younger people. One of the things you asked earlier I didn't say was, I was able to see growing up, like I used to read Black Enterprise and see Earl Graves, and I knew who Doug Llewellyn was, right? And I knew who Percy Sutton was, and all these incredible businessmen who looked like me, and I never thought that I would be running a company like mine, or even in that line of work and be compared to some people, be able to work on a project that Percy Sutton thought of 40 years ago. But once you built all this, I mean, you have to utilize this machine. That's how I feel about it. I didn't do all this just to, do nothing with the rest of my life. So I want to continue to drive impact, inspire young people. Andy, there are, I said this in a panel Evans and I were on earlier, there are 111,000 real estate developers in this country, and all but 1,000 of them are white. And we have such a tremendous opportunity to influence what I referred to earlier as the best emerging markets in the world, which are the underinvested urban landscape right here in this country. And a lot of young people should know that that opportunity exists for them, because they can see an Evans Charles, or they can see a Craig Livingston or a Don Peebles, and recognize, like, look, we're not inventing the wheel, we're not inventing fire, we're doing what other folks have done before, but we're just able to, knock down the walls and make the industry more inclusive.
So we talked about your ability and Evan's ability. How important it is to have the right partnership. So you've got Marriott as a partner, and in Harlem, we've had a number of brands that try to make that work. Evans, you have a number of brands, notwithstanding the last brand that we'll talk about a little bit later. Is that important to have a partner that has the same dream that you do and willing to take the chance on you? How important is that?
You talking about a franchisor partner?
Of course, a hotel partner, and a banking partner for that matter.
Yeah. So 100%, it's extremely important, and one of the things that the brands bring to the table is what's called reservation contribution, right? If you think about Marriott, they have over 100 million Bonvoy. Maybe that number is larger now, I don't know. And all those folks are Marriott loyalists, and they go and they stay at these hotels and they get points when they're working, and then they use those points to stay at the Ritz-Carlton in the Bahamas or wherever, right? We as franchisees, we benefit off of that, because there's sometimes up to 40%, 50% of our business are coming from that Bonvoy customer that just only stays at Marriott's to collect points or so. So we happily pay, the royalties and things of that nature because of the percentage of the business, percentage of our business that they contribute to us or so. Yes, all the franchisors are not the same, but I can sit here, and I know Marriott's the host here, and definitely attest as a Marriott franchisee, what I really appreciate is they are invested in our success, and they are real, true partners. And I've had, for the most part, just good relationships with the brands. Not all of them, but for the most part, I have, and they're very necessary. There's only a few of them, and if you want to do hotels, you want to do branded hotels, there's only, Marriott has, 30 brands, you have to do business with these folks.
It seems like they have 100 different
I know.
brands at Marriott.
They come out with a new one every week, right? So.
Yeah. So I also agree. The relationship with the brands is super important for the reasons Evan said, but Partnerships overall are important because none of us could do what we do by ourselves. And I think there's a gentleman who spoke here yesterday, Don Peebles. We're partners in several transactions. And we also sit on the board of an organization in New York called NIREC, the New York Real Estate Chamber, which is an advocacy group for all the diverse developers in New York State. And one of the things we talk about there is that we're not competitors, we're natural collaborators, right? We can do more together than we can trying to, compete against each other. And we have collaborated, NIREC members have collaborated just last year alone in New York, just with the Adams administration, on $2.2 billion in deals that were awarded or closed. $2.2 billion. And no one in this room has ever heard about it, right? But that's the type of power that exists in partnership and collaboration. We need to be doing this as much as possible. The brand support is huge, but we also need to think about the natural collaboration that exists and partnership that exists amongst ourselves.
So we talk about a room like this, and it's safe to say that if you can create some great relationships and some collaborative interest from everybody, then you have a great impetus. Evans, your deal of the year. Prior to that was the Westin, the Home 2 in Largo, and all those hotels. But why was it important? You're from DC. Why was it important for you to look at your current deal of the year, which is going to be Hyatt, in your city, the city where you grew up in? Was that important? And do you think that will send a beacon of hope for other young men and women in the city, that if Evans can do it, maybe I can?
No, 100%. I've been trying to get a deal done in DC proper for 10 years and finally got it done. And the challenge has been DC is a gateway city, and it is only but, I don't know if it's 45 square miles. There's only but so many, sub-markets where a hotel would even work. And a lot of time I was competing against international money, who would want to buy properties in DC or so. So no, just as I've mentioned, as far as just, coming from an underserved community, and now that I can go, right now, like east of the river in DC is sort of where, not sort of, but where lower income folks live, and I go into to those communities and I go into those schools, and now that, they can actually see something that's downtown that somebody that looks like them owns, can make a strong difference. So from a sense of pride, and also just from a level of growth to want to do an urban gateway top 10 city, convention center, hotel. I mean, all of those things were just always in my, in what I wanted to achieve from a goal perspective or so.
In Harlem, I try to think of the amount of black hotel developed here in Harlem, with the exception of Park, which is down in Baltimore. I think Leslie has some hotels, RLJ in New York, you remember correctly. Mm-hmm. But you're really the only indigenous developer there. And for most hotel owners, they're probably never in the city where they have assets. Right. New York, Washington. You think that's, again, a good beacon that it can be done by other local folks that look like you?
I think it's, yes, a very positive indication, but the point is, young folks have to see it to believe it, right? They need to know that their aspirations are attainable because there's an example to point to. And I hope, Andy, that in a couple years we come back and we're at another NABHOOD conference in 26 or 27, and we see a lot of other young folks who have taken up the mantle and started hotels in their cities, because it's possible.
So from an encouragement side, we're just about out of time, how would you tell them, question both of you, how would you tell a lot of these aspiring hotel owners what they should start doing today So in 2026, 25, when we come back, they'll be ready to pull the trigger of done a deal. What would you tell them to do today? Anyone of you want to start? Evans?
Well, I would say learn, climb the learning curve, network, call people, make relationships, ask questions. You can open up Excel and you can model a hotel, which you should do 100 times over, get familiar with the math and the operational metrics, and become fluid in the language. And if you don't have a balance sheet, you don't have money, don't worry about it. I'll say this, the first thing that I learned at Columbia Business School, like the first week of classes, a professor is giving a lecture and he says, don't worry about money. Worry about good ideas. Money will find good ideas.
No doubt. I would say capitalize on this event and events like this. I've completely got myself educated, built my network, built my relationships by coming to conferences like this. And Andy does a great job, and I don't know if the industry appreciates, he has some super experienced, high-level power people that are on these stages. I mean, he has like super senior brand guys, like super senior entrepreneurs or so, and there's just so much information just over these 3 days, and I'm hopeful that not only are you sitting in this audience, you know, absorbing the information, but you're taking time to spend 10, 15 minutes with someone. Jay Patel, when I was brand new, and I tell him to this day, he spent 45 minutes with me on my first NABHOOD. And no one knew me, and he just was just sharing information and knowledge and gave me his number. So networking, building relationships, building teams, reaching out to the brands, finding out where the deals are from the brokers, who's gonna be your next management company. I mean, I know it's cliche, but I'm just gonna repeat, just network, 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 and just build relationships from here. Yeah.
Taron in the back, that's your next hotel partner with the new Hyatt. Taron from Hyatt, Taron Stoudemire. Evans, we've seen the transformation, but the last time I was at your house and we chatted, you've become a father recently. And when I sit and talk with you, whether I'm with you or on the telephone or with your little girl, it seems that you now have an opportunity to do what you always wanted to do, is create that generational wealth. And there must have been a drastic change in your thought process. In a minute and a half, because I know we're out of time, but I really wanted to have that because I've seen the transformation, and I taught you very often. How does it feel to be able to know that you can give your daughter not only a better life than you thought your parents thought they can give you, but now you're building generational wealth? And I'm going to ask Craig the same question because he does have kids. You take vacation in all these other exotic places. But Evans, you're new. How does it make you feel?
Well, first of all, someone said this to me, like, I have parents, I can have a significant other, but having a daughter, I'm not saying it wouldn't be the same if I had a son. There is no love I could have ever imagined that the way this love feels between me and my 2-year-old. Like, it's just, it super, super, super excites me every single day. And so now I feel like I'm working for her, you know? And one of the things that we don't do in our industry, we don't do well with estate planning and things of that nature. And so I just want to just put that out there real fast. But it's all about what can I do to cultivate her mentally, her personality, to raise her to be just a great person. I hope she has an interest in real estate, you know?
She will. But, you know, I don't want you to get in trouble when you start dating, because I know you're going to have your shotgun right there. But, Craig, you have kids that are older than Evan's kids.
I have 3 children, 2 teenagers and an 11-year-old. And so I'm a divorced father of 3 children. And one of the things that is remarkable is my children have kind of lived the experience with me. And from the first home they lived in when they were born, it was, they lived in a condo in a building that I developed. And my name was kind of part of the naming for the building. And they've always had a direct relationship with my profession and their lives. Whether or not they'll follow me into business, I don't know. I've been trying to indoctrinate them and tell them that they can be president of Exact Capital one day, but it doesn't, you know, I think they like medicine. My daughters like medicine a little bit more. They want to be doctors. But with the question about generational wealth, it's a huge motivation and driver for me. I want them to know that they're not starting from square one like we all did, right?
Exactly.
They're starting with resources, and if they want to build a hospital or a school or start a business or whatever it is their aspirations are in life, they have resources. And it is a huge, huge driver because, as Evan said, the love I have for my children supersedes everything in my life.
And, you know, thank you. What's also critical at NABHOOD for us, whether we're on with Warren Thompson, who has a 2-year-old, is to begin to plan for that next generation. I have 3 of my kids are here working, my daughter, who you keep hearing her voice, and my 2 sons around here. I was on a hospital board, and I kept thinking one day when I was on the board meeting, and the Prime Minister's daughter is on that board. And I said, this is interesting. So I went to a board meeting, and I said, listen, I want to exit this board, but I want to exit on one strategy, that my daughter can now take my place on that board. And they looked. What they didn't know, I had lobbied each board member for that book. And when I exited the board, my daughter took over from me, because I saw the pairs in changing. And so our commitment is very simple. We have to be able to build generational wealth. That's what NABHOOD is all about, and that's what I like to do. And Stanley's wife just joined us. I wasn't going to recognize Stanley, but because his wife joined us, who is the highest ranking African American in the Biden administration, Mrs. Campbell, please stand and be recognized. Stanley, you can now stand. Stanley is running for the United States Senate in the great state of Florida, and we need good representation. And he's going to win.
Yes, he is.
Evans, thanks. Craig, thanks.
Thank you.
Great friends. Please join me in thanking these 2 gentlemen for, I think, an informative thought.
Appreciate it.
Ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends, let's thank Dr. Andy Ingraham, Craig Livingston, and Evans Charles one more time. Just for some housekeeping rules, the next session is on investing in the Caribbean. And obviously, we talk a lot about inward investment in the U.S. And as you can see, Evans comes out of Haiti, Craig out of Jamaica. Now we're at a stage as a family where we're talking about outward investment back into from whence we came. That session will be in saloons A and B as you exit the room. You go around to the left, around to your left, and you'll see Saloon A and B, which is right behind these walls. I wanted to take the opportunity, well, first thing I gotta say is Stanley Campbell for Senate! The next thing I gotta do is I wanna recognize Mitch Miller. Mitch, stand up. The $500. Oh, this stopped work. PJ cut me off. How dare she? Anyway, she's Andy's daughter. Okay, so every dollar you contribute is a worthy investment in our future. And then the last thing I want to do, and Mitch is reminding me of that, is I want you to look in the front of your program, and you're going to see all of these fabulous sponsors who support us from year to year. And it's these sponsors who help to contribute to what we're trying to do for the next generation of hotel owners and developers. It's too many to call their name, and I got my next session on the Caribbean. I don't want to take away from that. But the last thing I want to say is thank you all for spending some time being here, and I'm very much obliged to you for your kind attention. Go to the next session. You're out of here. Thank you.
Yes, please ensure that you participate and visit all of the exhibitors and the corporate suites in our trade show, which ends around 4 p.m. That was a session on Perspective and Vision, The Journey, with Evans Charles and Craig Livingston. If you want to replay that conversation, you can follow the hashtag NABHOOD. It is located on our Facebook session, on our Facebook page, LinkedIn, and YouTube. If you need more inspiration and just want to watch that over and over again. It was wonderful to have a Columbia alum in Craig Livingston. Didn't know that. There's a few of us in the house. Roar, Lions, roar. Please ensure that you go to the Caribbean Investment and Development Forum happening at 250 in Salon A and B. We're also hosting a panel back in here at 335, Hospitality and Tourism Executive Roundtable. This evening, we'll also be hosting the opening session for Multicultural and Heritage Tourism. And for those of you that plan on taking the boat cruise, which is the closing reception for NABHOOD, we have to be in the lobby at 5:30 p.m. to catch the yacht. So for those attending the closing reception of NABHOOD, which is also the opening reception aboard the South Beach Lady yacht, please ensure that you are in the lobby by 5:30 p.m. to depart.